jointing some vinyl together, and traditionally people had various ways of doing it. Sometimes people would just use a hook blade and they would just try and run it against the one underneath and hopefully follow that line, and probably take a risk that that knife isn't going to jump out or follow something else and end up with a gap. Other people used to try and use a straight edge and mark where it was and use a straight edge, but the system we're going to show you today, which is the Railcut, is very easy and very simple to use. We'll go through the setup process with you on this tool, but before we do, we're just going to show you how to use it in regards to that. The length of the rail is 1.4, and you'll notice the design of the machine is very easy to hold and work in the palm of your hand without it deviating. If you're doing a bigger job like a sports hall or big classrooms, you've got the option to purchase an extra rail, which will then give you another 1.4, and you can join the two together. But I'll hand you over to my colleague now, who's going to just run through just doing the seam.
Okay, so the Railcut will give you perfect seams every time because the tool is at a 90-degree angle. To try and keep your knife when you're running down a straight edge at 90 degrees is pretty impossible, no matter how good a fitter we are. But this takes all the risk out of it. A good welding joint relies on a good joint initially. So we'll just run, as Steve just run through the.
Just before you start there, Steve, obviously that just sits into that slot.
Yes.
So it stops it jumping out or anything.
Yeah.
So it's very controlled.
So there's a little recess underneath. The blade is adjustable up to 15mm, and it can be used on various different types of materials, from rubber to textile covering. So the rail just sits on this recess here.
I think the other thing you'll notice as Steve's running along there is the bar itself isn't sliding around. Sometimes with a straight edge like this, you know, you're going on and it moves and you're in the wrong place. Very controlled method.
So you can move the bar up by leaving the tool on the bar and just push it up as you're going along your seam.
So that means you don't get them jagged edges.
So you can see the tools cut through the first, and it's underscored the sheet underneath. Then you simply run down with your hook knife.
I think that's quite a good thing. You probably could set this to go through the two, but obviously your blades aren't going to last very long.
Yeah, I think you could be possibly putting a little bit too much force on the actual cut. If you put too much force on it, then you run the risk of moving there.
But as long as you've got it set right, once it's created that initial cut in there, it's very easy to follow with a hook knife.
And as you can see, you get an absolutely perfect seam.
Okay.
So the setup for the Railcut is really simple. The blade's adjustable up to 15mm because, you know, as we said earlier, you know, you can use this tool on various different types of materials. For fibre bonded carpets, for instance, which can be obviously a lot thicker in depth than sheet vinyl. So you just loosen the nut and the blade is adjustable like so. Now, for when we're setting up for what we've just done here with the sheet vinyl, what you need is 2 pieces of scrap, okay? That size is fine. And what you need to do is overlap them. So you're kind of mimicking the actual overlap on the joint. And then you offer the rail up to your first piece. So you want that kind of net, so the blade will actually underscore the bottom sheet. So again, let's get the Railcut on. So you can see now it's just scoring the underside piece of sheet vinyl. Tighten the nut up, and that is how you set up the Railcut. Okay, so we're now going to see the benefits of using the Railcut on LVT. Now, unlike sheet vinyl, where you overlap and you almost double cut, with LVT all we're doing is scoring the surface of the LVT and snapping like traditionally we would do with a knife and a straight edge. Now, the benefits of using the Railcut for LVT is really for when we're doing a main field first, if we're doing any border work, what we need is a perfect straight line for that border tile to butt up to your main field of LVT. That was always difficult with a knife and a straight edge. Again, if you can't keep your knife perfectly at 90 degrees, and inevitably you'll end up with either cutting it too big or too short. Plus, as well, another benefit is it's a lot safer, so we're not having any risk of any injuries to our hands.
I think that's a good point, because I'm sure there's many people out there that have cut their thumb trying to go down a straight edge with a knife.
Yeah. Because ultimately you're putting inconsistent pressure on your blade, and we know that the straight edges are only very thin pieces of steel, and once you catch that with your knife, it scoots across it no problem, and you know, we could have a catastrophic injury. Okay, so the setup for the Railcut for LVT, again, similar to when we're doing it with sheet vinyl. We need a piece of scrap material. We set the Railcut on the rail, and then we offer the blade up to the LVT, just a little bit of pressure on the finger, just to keep the blade in. So we're really only scoring the wear layer, and then we just tighten up the nut, and we're good to go. So once we've got our main field in, what we need to do is find out where our border line is. So we've already done that. We've marked out underneath for our adhesive line. So we just strike some marks on your LVT. So in essence, all we've done is we've scored the surface of the LVT, and now we'll snap the material out with the glue traditionally. We know when we snap LVT it leaves a burr on it, so we want to take that off. You can either use a knife, or we have a tool called the fast trimmer which does the same job. And then you offer your LVT up to when you've cut it into your border, and then we know we've got a absolutely perfectly straight line all the way around the room. It's a really fast way of fitting LVT. I think doing the main field first has always been the faster method, but never the neatest compared to putting the border in first. And if you have
that comes down to people's choice. So some people like to do it one way or the other. Well,
it's people's choice. Yeah. So we've got the tools, we've got the equipment. We can make the job more efficient and neater by using the Railcut. Well, thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out all our other videos on Floormart's YouTube channel, and don't forget to drop a like, comment and subscribe.